Hey there, everybody. How lovely to have you with me today. And if you're celebrating today, wishing you the merriest of Christmases. My name is Ali Board, and I've done this broadcast for a few years now to bring everybody together in my creative community and beyond. So, no matter whether you're here joining me live via YouTube, no matter whether you are joining me and watching via catch up, that might be on my website or via YouTube. Maybe you don't celebrate Christmas. Maybe this isn't the year that Christmas is really doing it for you. No matter how you are here, you are astonishingly welcome. And I want to send you the warmest of wishes from my studio here in Dorset. Now, I am a mixed media painter and an author and an educator. And so nothing gives me more joy than sharing some techniques with you. I do it every month. I do it in my classes. But I think today sometimes it's important to be as creative as the other days. Maybe you just don't like the hustle and bustle. Maybe you're just thinking, I'm full of Christmas dinner now, and I'd quite like to do something creative. I'm going to make it really simple today, and you're going to see my project happen in real time. I haven't done masses of planning of this, not because I'm being lazy, just because you can see my thought processes, and we're going to use some really simple materials, things that you might find in your craft stash, or things that you've got in the back of your cupboard, or even things that might have come off of a present. Now, if you are tuning in live, I'm really grateful that you're doing that, because I know it's a special day for people out there. So I want to say some hellos. So good morning to Barbara, to Val, bonjour to Rosie this morning. Good morning, Joe and Ant. Good morning, Sheena. And Karen is saying that she's just popping in and then has got to pop out again. Go feed your animals. They're more important. And good morning to Kerry as well. I can see that there's lots of you in the room. Do feel free to take part in that chat if that's something that appeals to you. Let me know where you are in the world. And if you are watching this on catch up, then there's every opportunity to drop me a line in the comments, either on the blog or on YouTube. It's just nice to know where you are. But if you're kind of up to here with a duvet and a cup of something, and you just want to watch me do something creative, do that instead. Now, normally with these live broadcasts that I do, I shut my house down. It's all terribly quiet in the background. But as you can imagine, it's a busy day in the household. So if you hear the odd cluck or woof or neigh or a door slamming, it's just because my family and friends are coming and going today. So I'm going to apologize in advance for all of those things. First thing I want to do is to take you over to my website so that you can see where the resources are for today. Now, I've added a few things to this list, but it's nothing scary, I promise. So you're going to need to go over to the website. I had to I haven't got my brain on this morning at all. It's a Christmas mush. Lindsay, good morning. She's in Herefordshire. Good morning. Good morning to Herefordshire and all of Wales as well. A bit of homeland for me. You need to go to www.learningtopaint.co.uk. Let's take you over there now, and you can find all of the information that you're going to need. Now, when you get to my website, probably the opening page of it might look a bit like this. If you're watching on a phone, or you're on a tablet, it might look a little bit different to this. But in the menu, you want the Learning to Paint part of the menu. And can you see there it says Christmas Day Creative Friendship? You need to click onto that. And you might have found the details for today through this page. But there are some of the resources. So really simple things. I've tried to keep it simple because you can't rush out to the shops and do all of that kind of stuff. But do feel free to interpret it as you see fit. You might want to be much more ambitious than I'm going to be today. You might want to just sit with some pencils. And here's the little list of things that I'm going to be using. Felt tip pens, something to paint on like a cardstock or a heavy paper, something like that with a bit of water. A small brush, some kitchen roll. pencil, ruler, and maybe an eraser, a black pen, a black biro. If it's waterproof, that would be grand, and either a hairdryer or some patience. Now, here is the point of today's project. Don't feel that you have to take part in this. Just sometimes it's nice to have an outlet for your projects. Now, I'm going to be encouraging you to create an artist trading card, an ATC. And the idea is that you create it, and I'll show you how to do that, don't worry. And then you send it to me from wherever you are in the world. Send it to me. So that's the Artist Trading Card Project, care of me, Alison Seaboard, at Down End Farm Studio, 3 Down End Farm, etc., etc. Don't forget to enclose a stamped addressed envelope. Now, if you are not in the UK and you still want to take part in this, don't worry about the stamped address envelope, because you can't do that. You can't do your postage back to you from this end. Don't worry, I will sort that out for you, because the idea is that you create a card, you send it to me, and then I do a massive, massive swap with people. Okay. And then so your card will be winging its way to someone in the world, and I will send you one. Now, this is a project I run 365 days of the year anyway. And I have, look, my little special box here, because in this box are cards that people have either sent to me, or they are cards that people have created, and people have been amazing, because some people have even preempted this broadcast, and I've had some little ATCs already created by people. You might spot your artwork in there. And so what I'll do is I'll swap them, and you'll get a really lovely little piece of artwork back. And then that way, if you are feeling a little bit lost or lonely this time of year, or if there's not really anybody creative in your life, this way we can exchange artwork, and you might get one from me as well stuck in there. But it's just a lovely way to reach out across the world, to say hello, to say I hear you, all of those kind of things. Now, whilst I was talking about all of that, I missed some comments in the live chat. Who did I miss? Lindsay P. Good morning from you. And my mum is in the room as well. Morning, mum. Hoping that everyone enjoys their day. And lots of people wishing my mum a happy Christmas as well. Isn't that marvellous? That is the joyful, joyful thing about this broadcast, is that we can say hello to each other. We can reach out across the world. So if you are struggling today, and I know some people really, really have really kind of struggle with the whole day, the enormity of it. Maybe you have lost somebody this year. Maybe it's not quite the same Christmas as it is ordinarily, but we're all here for you, I promise. So shall we get started on our ATC project? So the first thing you're going to need is, I would gather all of your stuff. You're going to see some of my stuff. I'll use that word a lot in a little while. Now, a couple of people are saying that they might have gremlins. If you are versed with the chat, can you just help Rosie out and to see if it's me at my end or whether it's her? It doesn't look like it's my end. So Rosie, I hope you get connected again soon. But let's go to my overhead camera, and we can have a look at the stuff that I have gathered, and then you can do the same. So you might have a much more basic version of what I've got here. I've got a fancy pants cutting mat here, which is just something that I'm going to lean on, but it could be an old piece of card. Just if you are going to cut out, then maybe you want something to protect your work surface. Then what you're going to need, like I said, is something to paint on. Now, I've got a piece of watercolor paper here. This is, I don't even know what this is. So I just found it in my box of offcuts. So it could be any old thing, but it could be a piece of card. It could even be the back of an old painting, which would be really cool, wouldn't it? I'm going to show you how to measure out your ATC and all of those kind of things in a minute. And then I've got some sort of standard kit. I've got a rubber, I've got a pencil, I've got a ruler. Now, again, I've got a bit of a fancy pants ruler because it is a safety ruler so that I can cut things out. but just be careful if you are using a scalpel, a brush, nothing particularly posh whatsoever, just something that we can do some painting with. And then I suggested, now you might want to use paints today, but I have suggested using felt tips instead, just simply because most people have a set of colouring pens in their house. Maybe you've got small people in your life and you have a set in a drawer. What you want are the sort of felt tip pens that are washable, that run when they are wet, because you can use them as a substitute for paint. But if you'd prefer to use actual paints or a set of watercolours or any of those kind of things, then do that instead. I'm just trying to keep it nice and simple for people. So let's just have a look at the tech. Because I don't seem to be seeing people's comments, but keep them coming in, because that's what happens on Christmas Day, isn't it? You get the gremlins coming in. Do just drop a little comment in the chat, just so that I know you're still there, because at the moment, can't see many of you at all. Never mind. I will keep going. Good morning to anybody that has just joined us. I hope you're all doing well today. Now, I've got a few other things as well. I've got a pot of water. I've got some kitchen roll just kind of lurking here in the background. I've got some bits and pieces of collage material. I've even got a bit of bubble wrap looking. Good morning, Simone. Lovely to have you here. I've also got an old magazine, which I'm going to be using to cut some things up. I've got a bit of glue, I've got a spray bottle, all of those kind of things. Lots of people saying that they're still here. Awesome, marvellous, that's good. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself. Right, now, first things first, let's cut out our pieces of card so that they are a standard size. Now, an ATC, an artist trading card, let's get the marvellous Christine's out to show you. They are technically a standard size, but it really doesn't matter. It can be a little bit bigger than this or a little bit smaller than this. You can interpret it as you see fit. Now, the other thing that people like to do, I've just got to cover a few bits of information on the back. That people sometimes put a greeting on the back. People sometimes write what they use to create their piece. Sometimes people even put their contact details so that you can kind of pop up and say hello to each other. You don't have to do any of those things. You don't even have to write on the back if you don't want to. Sign your name, because that's always nice. It's always nice to see where it comes from. But as you can see, they're quite small and very, very manageable. Good morning, Susan. Lovely to have you here. So that size, like Christine has done there, is 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. So let's find a nice straight edge on this piece of paper, which I'm going to start here. So let's do 2.5, 2.5, ooh, and another 2.5. Let's use our ruler again. 2.5, 2.5, and 2.5. We will join those up. Let's just do a little pencil line to make sure we know what we're doing and where we're doing it. And then they need to be 3.5 inches the other way. Don't ask me what that is in metric. I have not got the brain cells this morning to work out what that is. I'm sure someone in the chat will work out what 2.5 by 3.5 is in centimetres. All of those kind of things. Now, I'm going to do more than one ATC at a time, just because then things can be drying. But you could put all of your energy into just one. You could be on a complete roll and do lots of them. You could do lots, send me one, and then give the others to friends and family. Don't put yourself under too much pressure. just make sure that you are being creative, because that's kind of why we're all here. Actually, that's not true. Some of you are here because you just want to see me do a bit of painting on a Christmas Day morning. And so you're welcome no matter what. So let's take that excess away. That will live to fight another day. And then we can cut these up. So we've got another one in there. And another one. Ooh, line that ruler up. You can cut them with scissors. You don't need to cut them with a knife. And so I've got 3 really lovely ATCs all ready to go. So let's have a look at them, because I'm not sure about, I just dragged this piece of watercolour paper out of the depths of the scrap box. I'm just wondering which is the cleaner side. I think probably the side that I drew on. So I'm going to use an eraser to tidy up those edges. Let's have a look. Well, maybe that side's better of that one. I'm being overly fussy, but it doesn't matter. And so the first thing that I am going to do is I'm just going to go a little bit bananas with some colour. I'm going to try and not think about it too much. And I'm going to use my felt tip pens to do that. What colours do I fancy doing? Well, I could break the habit of a lifetime, couldn't I? And go for some lovely kind of purples. In fact, let's have a purple and a sort of turquoisey blue on that one. Those are my standard colours. I've been into orange an awful lot recently. So let's have a little bit of orange on one of them as well. Good morning, Jilly. What should we have with orange? Let's go for a sort of Christmassy one. And then over here, let's have something sort of more natural looking. So we'll have a limey green and a sort of biscuity colour. Let's go for those. So I've sort of chosen those at random. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to very, very quickly add a few scribbles of colour down onto my paper. Very random indeed. Don't worry. Make sure that your pens are water soluble. Otherwise, this might not work for you. Then I'm going to take my brush and my pot of water. And if you have got those lovely washable felt tip pens, then you should discover that when you take a wet brush to them, the colour will merge and run, and it will look a bit like a watercolour painting. Now, I've still got a few lines showing on mine. I'm not going to worry about that too much, because actually by the time I've finished and covered it with other things, it's not going to matter. So that's a nice one. We'll set that to one side. Let's do another one. And I've already, look at that. Honestly, I spend my life being covered in paint. Let's do a bit more. So we've got some orange there and a bit of red. That's a very bright red. Let's have a crimson-y colour going on in there too. Give my brush a good wash out, and then let's blend that together. So all I'm doing at the moment is creating some lovely kind of fuzzy backgrounds. I do like a sort of a watercolory blended background. And so what this means is you don't need to have the posh watercolours. You don't need to worry about, oh, I've never painted in watercolour before. You can get some really easy backgrounds going with a couple of felt tip pens. Let's put the lids on so that we know what we're doing. And then over on this side, what should we do with this? Let's have the limey green. This is a lovely colour. I do like that. In fact, I like it so much, I'm going to put some extra of it down. And some biscuity kind of gingerbread, I suppose, for the time of year colour going on in there. Now we've got our brush. We can use that. Oh, that's a lovely colour, isn't it? Lovely kind of spring green. So we've got that going on. Some green going in there now with the brown. That's quite a subtle one. That's quite subtle for me, isn't it? This is usually more my postcode. That's rather nice, isn't it? Okay. Now, as I said on the resources for today, you could let those dry naturally. Because it's a demonstration, I'm going to dry them with my heat gun. You can use a hairdryer. You could stick them on the radiator to dry if you wanted to. Now, you might notice that they are curling up, but don't worry. What we're going to do is dry them from one side. And then when they've dried from that side, we'll flip them over. Dry the back as well. And then we can do what's known as the paper dance. So the paper dance is where you give it a good old waggle to get it back flat again. I probably should dry those a little bit more, but I'm not going to. Because we're not here to watch paint dry, are we? Oh, that one went flat all on its own. Look at that. Now, you can put a second coat on those if you want to. It won't move quite as much as the first coat, but it will certainly add to the depth of that colour. Now, the lovely Lindsay has done the maths for us. She has said for those who prefer metric, 2.5 by 3.5 inches is 6.35 centimetres by 8.89 centimetres. So kind of roughly 6.4 by 8.9, there or thereabouts. Lindsay, thank you very much for doing that maths. That is awesome. Thank you. In fact, I can confirm. There we go. Yeah, well, that's definitely 6.3. And that is, yeah, bang on, 8.9. Excellent maths, Lindsay. Go to the top of the class. That's fabulous. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to add some textures to these. Now, textures can be added in so many different ways. You could do it by painting back over the top. You could do it with a little bit of collage back over the top. Doesn't have to be anything fancy at all. I'm going to pop these to one side and show you some of the things that I have ready for a bit of collage. Now, I'm going to use some bubble wrap in a minute to make some textures on mine. So if you've got a bit of that, if you've had a delivery recently, or maybe you've had a gift given to you and it's got some bubble wrap around it, you could use that. I have some skeleton leaves here. These are a craft product, but you could actually go out into the garden and get some fallen leaves and put them between layers of the book and press them and use those kind of things. Maybe you've done that already. So I've got those. Now this is, I ran a printmaking workshop recently, and this was a piece that I had left over from that, but you could use wrapping paper. If you've got like a nice, I'm going to look at you down the camera now. I have very large boxes of collaged materials where I go, oh, that's interesting, and it goes in there. So now is the time to find all those things, isn't it? Good morning, Barbara. So a bit of wrapping paper. And I've also, like I said, got a magazine. Now, you do have to be a little bit careful with magazines. Any of you artists out there will know that you have to be a touch careful with magazines and copyright. But today, the idea is that we're just using bits of it. Now, this is Dorset Magazine, unsurprisingly. When I was flicking through this earlier, I'm not going to be able to find it now, am I? There was a whole piece about my town, Blandford Forum, and I thought it would be just a bit of fun to use that. Now, I've got a pair of scissors here, which I'm just going to reach out of my pot, and let's have a look. Let's use this bit of text here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out, and I'm going to look for a word that I think will be interesting to use in a collage. So what we'll just use, should we use, Georgian. I do like the Georgian period in history, so we might use that. We could have town or architecture or whatever you like. whatever you fancy. I quite fancy the word admire there as well. We've got Georgian in a larger font there, but let's pick that out. What else? Oh, there's the word explore. Always a good word to have. Oh, don't cut it up, Ali. You want it for the collage. Let's chop that out. There's something actually quite lovely about going through a magazine rather than just sticking it in the recycling and picking out words like this. Is there anything on the other side? Got another explore there. I'll leave it at that. You can do a lot more with yours. Let's stick that to one side. So we've got a couple of little words there. We've got a skeleton leaf or two. Let's pick those out. Got a bit of bubble wrap, which I'm going to do some texture with in a minute. And then I think what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to tear it. So we'll fold it up. Again, like I said, you could use wrapping paper for yours. Karen, who was on my printmaking workshop, is saying that this looks very familiar. And Deborah is saying Merry Christmas. Good morning to you, Deborah. Lovely to have you with us. You've probably all noticed as well, look, bubble wrap is a bit of a favourite of mine. So let's fold that again, and we'll get an interesting little strip of paper. So let's tear that again. You'll take more time, more care with yours than I have with mine. Which bit do we like? I think a bit that's got both of those textures on would be quite nice, wouldn't it? I probably should measure it, shouldn't I? That would be good. You can see how accurate I am with the creation of my pieces. Let's tear that. I've got loads over here. So we'll return to our ATCs and we'll see what fits what. Now, this would kind of go with any of them, wouldn't it? But it does look rather delicious with that one. Can you see what I mean now about you don't need to worry about the lines being seen on the card because the chances are you're going to cover them up anyway. So we could put that on there. I quite like the natural thing that I've got going on over here. And that, in fact, maybe one of these these are called Boda, B-O-D-A leaves. That looks rather nice on there, doesn't it? Quite subtle. Maybe I'll do something else with that. Maybe I'll have another bit of collage underneath. So I would, this afternoon or whenever you are feeling creative, get yourself a tray, park yourself in front of the television or the radio or an audio book or whatever it is that you like to do with just some bits and pieces of stuff. And have a lovely time kind of playing jigsaw puzzles with all of these things. Now, that's got bubble wrap on it already. Let's use the bubble wrap on this one, which is looking a bit plain at the moment. Now, what can we do with this? What I'm going to do, actually, I've just realised I've never done this with felt tip pens before, so this will be interesting. I'm going to see if it works. That pen isn't working at all, so no, it doesn't. See if it works. Let's go for a dark green. Colouring, there it does. Over the top of the bubble wrap, nice and fast, scribbling over the top of it, and then pressing in onto the ATC, and voila! We have a rather delicious pattern. And isn't that fabulously easy to do? And that can happen on all sorts of things. So I am just going to bring something a little bit out of left field, which I prepped here. So you may recognise this. It's probably not as gunky as this. But if you do have small people in your life, then probably Lego, these plastic building bricks, probably not unknown to you. I still have quite a lot of my own old Lego, and they can make some interesting patterns as well. So I'm going to take my felt tip pen and I'm going to scribble over the top of this pattern, and then you can use that as a stamping tool as well. And you get, again, some really interesting textures going on. And suddenly with just a few layers, you've got some interesting ATCs. Now, I've got those bits of text there that I cut out. I've also got some letter stamps as well, because if you have followed my stuff for a while, then you will know I love using words and text and things in my work. But before we do any of that, I want to do some scribbling on the back of my ATCs. And so you can do this in pencil, you can do it in pen, you can create patterns or textures or all sorts of things. It doesn't matter. What should we do on this one? What did I have on here? I had this going on, didn't I? So now what does this say to me? I'm always doing this all the time, going, if I've got a leaf, it says sort of slightly kind of wintry types of things to me. So let's just write over and over again, winter as a backdrop. This is just in pencil. I'm not thinking about it too much. The letters are going to form like a backdrop for what's going on. Winter, winter, winter. And handwriting doesn't have to be marvelous. It can just be anything you like. And then with a pen over the top, let's draw some patterns. Let's go for a natural form. I'm a big fan of a seed head. So let's, what should we do? Should we go for good old hogweed? Because I do love a hogweed. So over the top of that, let's draw some really kind of simple patterns, those lovely kind of umbrella forms that you get from a hogweed. And again, you can see in building up the layers, you don't have to worry. Nothing has to be neat and tidy because they all form part and parcel of the whole of it. Let's go for that over here. And we've got some more occurring this side. Coming back over here. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, if you want me to go back over anything that I've already said, if you've joined live and you missed the beginning, please do ask anything you like about this process. I will give you a recap at the end of what we talked about and where you can go for the resources, but do feel free to use the chat. And the lovely Anita is in the room and using her partner's account from the looks of it as well. Good morning, Anita. That's Anita Pounder, lovely artist in residence at the SAA. Thank you for taking the time. All of you, in fact, thank you for taking the time to tune in. It means a great deal to me, I promise. So I'm using my pens now for the kind of the ends of my little hogweed shape. Coming back over the top, I think I need to get some water involved. Now, Rosie has come up with an amazing idea. You could do this on silk and then embroider the hogweed. Rosie, my mum is going to agree with you wholeheartedly, as she is the embroiderer in the family. I think that's a lovely idea. Mum will also tell you that if you use thin watercolour paper, and you've got a decent free embroidery needle in your machine, you can actually embroider back over the top of your paper as well. Works really beautifully on like tissue papers and things. I know Mum and I have worked together on projects like that before. Thank you, Susan. Susan is saying that she's liking the hogweed card. I've managed to bury my heat gun under all of this collage. Let's just give that a quick blast. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? Let's paper dance it. Morning, Les. Never apologise for being late. You are very welcome indeed. So many of you in the room. Thank you very much to everyone who's taken the time to tune in this morning. Let's thicken up these lines. And don't forget, you might be watching this on catch up. You might be watching it many, many years down the line as well. Okay, let's get a bit of shading going on in the stem. And then what I'm going to do is see what it looks like when I've got this collage material over the top. Oh, that looks rather delightful, doesn't it? It needs something else. Maybe, let's just oh, that's better. When you reverse the order. I like that. I think it needs some bubble wrap or something down at the bottom. Something else going on. Oh, I know what I could do. I could stamp the word hogweed. Anyway, let's get a bit of glue. This is just a normal stick glue. Nothing fancy at all. You can... Oh, ripped it already. You can use much stronger glues if you're into crafting in a big way. I just thought most people would probably have a stick glue and therefore nice and accessible and easy to find. So putting some things over the top. Let's go for that over there. I've got bits of skeleton leaf stuck to me. That's rather delightful. I quite like that. This will be the other problem with this project, is that you create some cards and then don't be embarrassed that maybe you don't want to let them go. I understand that because you put your heart and soul into them. But maybe you do 2 or 3 versions of the same and then it's easier to let go of them. But if you create them and you think, oh, I'm not sure that I want to send this in to Ali, then don't keep it. Be proud of it. Don't have to send it to me whatsoever. So there's the H of my letter stamps. Good morning, Dee. Hello, my lovely. Thank you for tuning in. So there's my H. Let's go. Let's try and spell it correctly, because that'll be the thing. I'll make a spelling mistake, but never mind. Oh, I like it when it's all a bit kind of out of kilter as well. There's a G. So I've spent quite a lot of time on this one, haven't I? You can spend as much or as little time as you like. Rosie is saying, if you use the pens, would it need priming first? Rosie, I don't think it would. They'd spread quite a long way on silk for definite. But if you've got a little scrap, maybe experiment with it first. See how it goes on. But yeah, I love that people are already kind of running with this and thinking outside of what it is that I am showing you. That's always the kind of thing that I hope for. Now I'm going to... Is that a D? Oh, it is now. I think it might be a P, but... No, that's a P, so that must be a D. It's enough to send you a little bit loopy, isn't it? There we go. So we've got the ATC, my little hogweed ATC finished there. So I could write someone a message on the back. For the time being, I'm just going to sign it. And I think I don't usually date my work, but let's put it in because it's quite a significant date today, isn't it? 25th of December 24. And then that little ATC could be winging its way to you. Right, let's move on. Let's go for a slightly simpler one this time. So we've got that bit of collage going on there. Let's stick that down. Let's pop that on to that side. I think for this, I'm going to use my felt tip pens to create a little palette of colour. So over... Oh, I could use a little scrap of watercolour paper actually, couldn't I? Let's use a scrap of paper for this. So Les is asking where I got the letter stamps from. Les, I do. It's one of the things that I do actually have on my website, on my Learning to Paint website, but they are available all over the place. This isn't. I promise you, this isn't about me promoting stuff today, but I just do happen to have them on my own site. So I've taken some pen, I've added some water to it. And now what I can do is use that for a really interesting textural mark on here. What else could we... Let's stick those letters down. I don't know what they mean. I'm not going to overthink it. Maybe it's telling a story. I've got Georgian ancestors myself that I know about, so maybe I'm channeling them today. Christmas is definitely a time when you think about the people who have gone before. So maybe that's the thing that I'm thinking about today. Oh, that one doesn't want to leave. Doesn't want to leave my finger either. Now I have got another little trick up my sleeve, which I might use on this card. I had this really lovely twine left over from wrapping my parcels. So I'm going to wrap my ATC card. There we go. So let's pop this. Let's get it sort of vaguely in the middle so that it makes life a bit easier. And then we'll go backwards and forwards on the card until we end up back at the front again. And then let's tie this in a bow over here. So you can see it doesn't have to be doesn't have to be a landscape or a portrait or an animal or any of those kind of things, unless you really want it to be. Do you know what? I'm going to tie that in a double knot first because this is the world's smallest bow. It can just be an abstract of shapes and colours. It can be a very immediate response to something, like I did cutting out those letters. It can be whatever you want it to be. And I promise you, all of the ATCs that I've ever sent out to anybody, people just love receiving them, and they keep them like I do in a special little box. And it's a reminder of all the kind of creative people that there are around the world, and how, particularly at times of year like today, we can all come together and offer each other some friendship. So here we go. So there's 2 down. I'm pleased with those. Ah, how marvellous. And then we got this one. Now I've got some interesting textures. I really like that leaf on there. What else could I do with this? I know what I can do with this. Where's my little scribbly piece? We need a dark green. There it is. Couldn't find my dark green then. So I'm going to scribble myself a palette of dark green. I don't know whether this will work, but we'll give it a go. Just needed sort of something at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can deposit a bit of colour on the top edge and then encourage it to kind of run a bit like a vine down the card, because that might look quite interesting, mightn't it? And I think, again, possibly a bit of spatter might go on. Let's tap that so it falls away. What did I do with my bit of kitchen roll? Oh, perhaps I haven't used a bit of kitchen. Gosh, that's not like me. Not used kitchen roll yet. Oh, do you know what that's done? It's sort of made a pattern through the colours that I've already put down there, like it's kind of melted it. That's really interesting. See, this is the perfect, if you paint a lot as well, this is the perfect opportunity for experimenting, just on a really small scale. I think that's, we don't allow ourselves always, do we, to some time to experiment with our materials. And of course, if you're new to painting, you've got all this ahead of you. That's lovely. I like that. You can have some really kind of non-expensive materials and lose yourself in being creative. Yes, Rosie, you could blow it with a straw. Absolutely. That's a grand idea as well. Everybody's creative juices are really firing at the moment. I didn't sign the back of that one, did I? So that's all dry, and I'm going to keep this one nice and simple, I think. Is it fairly dry? Yes, it is. So let's pop a bit of glue down there. Let's pick out the bits of dog hair and everything else that have managed to find their way to my card as well. Let's stick that down. And I think I'm quite happy with that as it is. I might trim the bottom of that off. It doesn't really matter because I quite like having things going off the edge, but for some reason I feel like I need to trim the bottom of that one. It's not the straightest either, but that's okay. So what did we do on this one? I need to do the same on this. So put my name on the back. Seaboard. 25th. This whole ATC project actually started out as a conceptual art project back in the early 90s. Or actually, maybe it was 97, but certainly in the 90s. And so if this project interests you, then look it up, because it was actually designed as quite a serious project originally, which I find interesting. Let's have a look at these then, shall we? Let's clear the decks. And so we've got some nature inspired, some collage inspired, text, textures, all sorts of things. And they've got 3 ATCs there ready to go. And I will add these to the pile so that if you do send me your ATC, and don't worry, I'll fill you in just in case you missed the start of my broadcast today. The idea is that people are going to send them to me, and then I will do a big swap. And you don't have to do it quickly. Don't think, oh, I've got to get it done by a certain time. You really don't. The All Aboard Artists, the art group that I run, we've been doing this all year, and I had a significant birthday this year. And they all created ATCs for me, and it was just wonderful to get them all and to put them in a folder, and it's a lovely thing to do. So let's remind you of where you go for all that information. So you need to go over to my website. You need to go to www.learningtopaint.co.uk. Excuse me. And then depending on your device, you need to navigate to the menu, and you need to find Learning to Paint. Can you see there? There's a little bar that says Christmas Day Creative Friendship. Click on that and you will arrive at this page. There'll be a few bits and pieces you can see there. I've gone over the materials that I use. I added a couple of extra things today in terms of some of the collage materials that you might find around your house. And there it is, there at the bottom. I will be encouraging you to create an artist trading card to exchange with other people. To take part in the swap, send your completed card or cards to Artist Trading Card Project, care of Alison Seaboard, Down End Farm Studio, etc. And don't forget to enclose a stamped self-addressed envelope so I can send you a card from somebody else. Now, I'll talk about if you're overseas in just a second. Scroll down a bit further on that page. In fact, you might be there right now, and I will archive this broadcast there for you. So if you don't have time right at this moment to get creative, if you're thinking, oh, excuse me, if you're thinking, well, I can't get my head around it today, that's not a thing that I want to do, that broadcast will be there waiting for you to do. Now, if you are not in the UK and you still want to take part, send me your ATCs. Don't worry about the trying to work out how I'm going to get them back to you. I will sort all of that out. Just make sure that you leave me your address so that I know where to send them to. And throughout the next few weeks, or whenever it is that you decide to send me your ATC, I will get that organised for you. And you can look forward to receiving a beautiful piece of artwork from somebody else who has taken part in the project. I've already got a box stuffed. Oh, excuse me. Stuffed full of cards that are waiting to find new homes. I've got ones from years ago where people have done things that are very personal to me and sent them in, and they're just joyful to have. Now, do get your questions in. We're coming to the end of the broadcast only because my voice is starting to go already. So do get your questions in if you are watching live. Lindsay is saying, thank you for this. Lots of ideas for later when the table is clear. Have a lovely festival. That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, get your questions in. If you're watching this on catch up, then of course leave me a question either in the chat or in the comments. I can't promise that I'll get back to them today for you, but I will get back to them over the next couple of days and answer any of your questions. Oh, dearie me. My voice is definitely going. That seems to be a pretty good time to call it a day, doesn't it? Now, like I said, no matter what is happening to you today, whether you celebrate Christmas or not, I do hope that it's a peaceful one. Oh, for goodness sake, excuse me, I'm going to take a drink. Oh, oh, goodness me. That's only orange squash, I promise you. Just take lots of care of yourselves. Continue being creative. And if you've not ever been creative before, this is the perfect opportunity to start. And I wish you very well. May you have a really peaceful time. Sending you lots of love and light, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what it is that you are up to today. My email is always open, ali@learningtopaint.co.uk. So if you are struggling today, drop me an email. I promise that I will reply. Take lots of care. Thank you for joining me this morning. Thank you for putting up with my coughing and everything else. I'm going to go and feed some chickens, walk some dogs, and spend some time with my family now. But you all take care, and I will see you very soon. Thank you. Bye.